Hey y'all, welcome back to Babbling Zoom, where I'm just gonna ramble about Halo. Uh yeah, looked out and ended up getting finally managed to get myself uh an Xbox Series X. So I was all happy about that. And then obviously a few days ago, in Xbox Halo Infinity came out. Now, how much do I love Halo? I say I love it up to a certain point. Basically, I didn't like go all in on like everything. Like, yeah, in the beginning, I went crazy and bought like a whole bunch of games. And I know you all you could pause on this and say, "Oh my goodness, you only have like a few." But I mean, the reason is because I put the rest of it in this helmet. I've been ears too. So I have a few of the other ones in here in my helmet. But I have way too much Halo stuff. Well, in the beginning, because I was obsessed with it. It's all dusty. Look at all that dust. But as most of you who are probably playing it right now, who are probably downloaded the multiplayer day one, I've been playing around with multiplayer, and yeah, it's a mixed bag. The problem right now is the fact that there's no incentive for free players when it comes to multiplayer. The only thing that is there for everyone is the campaign, which I started up a little bit. So say I'm probably a little over an hour into it, playing around on the map. And yeah, it's beautiful. And I know the locations don't change. It's pretty much pretty summer for most of it, for all of it. And I'm hoping that that changes with DLC, because really it looks like the map size they give us is really specifically like a small chunk of the giant world. So they could easily go crazy with DLC in the future, and make us go like the other stretch of the ring. That said, I think 343 from here on needs to drop Master Chief. It's a crazy thing to say, but I think the Chief's journey needs to kind of end. Again, I've not beaten it yet, so I don't know what the ending looked like, but I feel like the best action moving forward is to stop playing around with the idea of a Spartan. Now that's crazy. I know. What are we on, like version 4 of a Spartan when we threw in the Infinity? Once they wrote that in, it's just like, all right, now anyone could be a Spartan. But I think in a way that kind of hurts. I mean, that kind of just hurts it, right? I think. Yes, we love a Master Chief. We love Cortana. But one of the most interesting games that came out of the Halo universe was ODST. And it's surprisingly really good, because now you're not dealing with Master Chief. You're dealing with just a regular soldier. And in that vein, I feel like Infinite is can be used as a jumping off point for maybe, and hear me out on this one, a Destiny clone. Is that crazy? Possibly. So let's dive into this concept. So we know Bungie, once they left Microsoft, ran off to do their whole Destiny universe, right? And as we saw, there were problems and it broke down and everything failed. And now it's on the hands of someone else. And it's where it is, a huge juggernaut of a game that siphons money from you every season with new DLC and other stuff. So in other words, to play the game, you have to constantly put $25 or more into their hands to get any content that's barely content. It's ridiculous. Which is why when I started playing Destiny, the only things I ever paid for was Vanilla 1 and Vanilla 2. Vanilla 1 was great, and then they started changing things, and I know a lot of Destiny fans are like, but it's great now, it's better now. But I'm like, yeah, but you lost the vision of what it could have been. And now with 2, I was hoping for a return to form, but in the end, it's kind of just went off completely off the rails. So what if Halo can be a redemption story, a way of trying to do what Destiny should have been in the first place, right? But doing it from not a Spartan's point of view, but from a soldier's point of view. I don't know if anyone's like really done a deeper dive into a lot of the commercials, but for some reason I realized that Halo focuses more on the heart and the struggle of war and doesn't play it up like a game. And I think that's a great premise for a bunch of humans, soldiers in the war. So let me see if I can doodle up somewhere a little bit. Switch over to share a screen because I'm on Zoom again. Like I said. All right. Why did I pull this one up? I don't know. I needed the page that had stuff. So okay, this is a horrible page. We'll try and work with it. So what if this whole thing happened at the end of a war, right? So it's not ODST. I know we're thinking, oh, so you're at ODST. Oh. So there we go. So you're thinking, oh, so it's like ODST the game, right? Yes and no. So let's cancel the ODST part of it, and it's just going to be you're basically a UNSC soldier that will slowly move up the ranks. All right, all right. And as you move up in the ranks, you will branch off. Could be 2 or it could be 3 or 4 classes. One obviously being ODST, right? But then, kind of just, figure out what other things you could do. One could easily be support. One could be demolitions. You know, just a basic gambit. Maybe one could be medic. I don't know. Support might be able to do that too. But I'm thinking support is more like vehicles. I probably spelled that wrong. I did. Whatever. So, when you set it up this way, right? So you have the general gist of it. Now, how do we turn it into, say, an MMO looter shooter? You know, I wouldn't say like really looter shooter, because Halo has never been into like this grinding for loot. So what it could be is just more of a world building. You know, it could be a game where it's world building. Think more. I'm trying to figure out the systems, because majority of these games are, or majority of the games on the market are all about loot. And the one game I think that works the best to slightly emulate is surprisingly Warframe. Now, why Warframe? Majority of the games that are out there, everything is about chasing your weapon, but chasing the levels of a weapon. So it could be a handgun, but because it's a low color or low class handgun, you're hunting for the same handgun, but with higher stats. Right? Warframe doesn't do that. What Warframe does is you're hunting for parts. That then build the weapon, which has its base stats. And then once you have your base stat weapon, you modify it with parts. The weapon is the base. Nothing changes with that. You don't need to hunt for any bigger ones or smaller ones or high levels or special stuff. It's just standard base gun, which works in a way for kind of a Halo world where you already know what the base gun is, right? But what if we just modify it with different muzzles, sights, guards, whatever, right? And it kind of just slightly tunes the weapon. Maybe you can take a gun that's auto fire and then turn it into a burst. Or imagine the Magnum being an auto. That could be crazy. But just ideas like that. So, what is the story? Why again am I looking at Warframe? Because another thing about Warframe is it introduces you to multiple locations, multiple planets. Everyone, let's be real, everyone does this. Everyone does this. like Destiny is basically like you go from planet to planet on this one huge map and then play around with a big giant map fighting things, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Warframe gives a little bit more playability as it does procedurally generated tiles. So one game is never the same. That said, I think Halo's strength is kind of just like this nice, beautiful map, and you probably want to play with that. We have to be smart about it. Now, so what are the worlds? What is the setting? Imagine this is the end of the war. So what if it's the end of the war, right? And at this point, all the creatures, aliens, go back to their homeland after this covenant, the facade of the covenant's broken. And everyone went back home to try and fix their world. Right? Now, in this whole mess, you'd probably say, all right, how would this work? Obviously, you want to go back, you want to check out the elite world. You want to check out the Jackal's world, which I think they're like space pirates. I know the elites are samurai. I think the Jackals are more pirates. It'd be fun to check out the grunts. And in this situation, I would say the brutes won't be a world. I mean, it could be if you want to add the brutes, but I feel like the way the world's been like, the way the story's been playing out, the brutes at this point aren't the ones who are willing to play fair. They're not willing to play with you. They can be the antagonist, the pure antagonist of what's going on. You could also have small factions of the Covenant going crazy here and there, but this is a perfect way of exploring. Oh, the humans. There we go. There's 4 planets. I'm an idiot. All right. Next, you're kind of just, this is the perfect way of exploring just these worlds. You can now embellish the planet of, I think, Singhili, right? Of the Singhili planet. So this could just be exploring their home, their planet, right? The Jackals, I remember reading one story about, I think, Black Team, where there's an entire fight going on in a cluster of asteroids, which would be a great idea to just have an asteroid world of just facilities that are interconnected to each other. Right? The grunts, I've never read any books about their homeworld, so we'll see. And then the human worlds, we actually get a chance to really see like human cities. We've played around in it so much. We've never really truly explored a regular human city outside of war. And this is the general idea. It's not about constant conflict. It's not the war that we've been fighting for, gosh, is it 20 years of Halo? My goodness. I think it is. But imagine actually just being able to see what these worlds, these creatures, what their civilization looks like. Now we could play around with it, right? And then what is the ongoing threat? Well, old remnants of the Covenant, the brutes probably coming in, doing raids. The jackals, some of the jackals can be space pirates, constantly trying to attack. And what are you doing? You're working with essentially the UNSC. Essentially UNSC turn into a space UN, a United Nations, right? Where everyone's trying to work together to try and meld everything. Yeah, you could easily just rip a page out of Mass Effect and play around with it. It's essentially Mass Effect Halo style, but in Destiny world, Destiny frame. Well, Destiny / Warframe frame. But yeah, it's a crazy idea. But I think at this point, we need to let Master Chief rest. We can't keep waking him up out of cryo to constantly have this fight. Maybe it's time to actually just play around, see what we can do from the human point of view, not the cyborg. And we have a basis of understanding with ODST. So just, it's better to look at ODST and see what we can play around with. All right. This is a thing for 343. If they like the idea, cool. Chances are they want to keep it infinite going for a while. But I kind of miss walking around just as a regular human again. Like, ODST was a fun game. Yeah, I miss that. And I also miss the silenced guns. Please, 343, bring back my silenced SMG. I miss that. But that said, tell me what you think. Tell me if this is a crazy idea or not. And yeah. With that said, I'm probably just gonna end up going and playing. I'm probably just gonna go play Halo more. But thanks for listening. Tell me your thoughts on the bottom. See you.